When I came home, I found my sister and the boyfriend I'd been with for 2 years on my bed. The moment that unfolded like a nightmare was, as it turned out, just the beginning of my challenging journey. Can I rise from the ashes of betrayal and bitterness to create something new and worthwhile, something worth sharing? My name is Julia, and I always considered myself strong until one Tuesday turned my life upside down. I grew up in a typical house in the suburbs of Chicago with my younger sister Beth, and realized early on that life wasn't going to hand everything to me on a silver platter. While Beth flaunted trendy clothes and new phones, I wore hand-me-downs and worked after school to afford anything. I remember once, when we were teenagers, Beth took our dad's car without permission and wrecked it with her friends. Instead of punishing her, our parents covered for her and bought a used car. When I asked why I never got a car despite my excellent grades and 2 jobs, Dad just shrugged. Beth needs more support to stay on the right track. You're managing just fine. There was another incident when Beth ruined my prom dress the night before prom. She took it without asking and spilled red wine on it. Our parents advised me to be understanding and lent me money for a new dress at the last minute. Later, they forgave my debt, but I still repaid every penny. I worked tirelessly and paid my way through a local college, while Beth dropped out after the first semester, claiming it wasn't for her. I got a decent job at an advertising company, saved up for a year, and rented a small 1-bedroom apartment. Eventually, I met Ben. We had been together for 2 years when Beth called me, crying over the phone. "I don't know what to do," she lamented. "I got fired for being late, but it's not even my fault. The bus didn't show up, and my boss is unbearable." I sighed, knowing the real issue was likely my sister's chronic irresponsibility, but Beth was still my sister. "What do you need?" I asked. "Can I stay with you for a while until I find a new job? My landlord is kicking me out with my stuff at the end of the week," she said. I looked around my apartment, which I shared with Ben. It was small, but the living room had a fold-out couch. "I need to talk to Ben," I said. Ben wasn't thrilled about the idea. He'd met Beth a few times and found her always whining and self-centered. "It's just for a few weeks," I promised. "She needs help to get back on her feet." So, 2 months ago, Beth moved in with 2 suitcases and endless drama. She scattered her belongings around the apartment, used my expensive shampoo, and barely attempted to find a new job. "I'm exploring opportunities," she said, scrolling through social media on her phone. Ben tried to hide his irritation, but I saw it in the tense lines around his mouth when he came home to find Beth in her pajamas in front of the TV at 4 p.m. Last Tuesday started like an ordinary day. I had an important meeting with a client at 2 p.m., but around noon I was hit with a migraine. My head was splitting, my vision darkened, and I felt nauseous. All the usual symptoms. Even aspirin didn't help, and I informed my boss that I needed to reschedule the meeting. "Go home and rest," she said. "We'll move it to Thursday." I drove home, dreaming of lying down in the dark. When I opened the door to our apartment, I heard strange noises coming from the bedroom. Thinking Beth might be ill or in trouble, I rushed down the hallway. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open wider and froze. On my bed were my sister and Ben. Time seemed to stand still. Ben spotted me first. His eyes widened in shock, and he pushed Beth away, grabbing the sheet. "Julia, it's not what it looks like," he started, but Beth turned around, and to my complete disbelief, there was no shame on her face. She sat up, covering herself as if I had caught her watching TV. "What the hell?" My voice sounded surprisingly calm. Ben jumped up, wrapping the sheet around his waist. "Julia, I'm so sorry. It just happened." "Just happened," I repeated. You just happened to end up in bed with my sister? Beth rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Julia. Don't be so dramatic. Her indifferent tone was the last straw. 2 years with Ben, 2 months of helping Beth, and this is how they repaid me. Get out, I said. Both of you now. Ben started making excuses, muttering pathetic justifications about how Beth came on to him, how it was all meaningless, how he still loved me, but Beth just laughed. Don't bother, Ben, she said. She was never worthy of you anyway. She looked at me coldly. I love him, Julia, and I'm taking him. He's been unhappy with you for months. I couldn't hold back my fury any longer. I rushed to the closet, grabbed their belongings, and threw them into the hallway. Then I grabbed Beth's suitcases from the living room and Ben's gym bag from the closet. You have 5 minutes to pack up and leave before I call the police, I said. My voice trembled with anger. They dressed in a hurry, shoving their things into their bags while I stood with my arms crossed, staring at the wall. When they finished, I escorted them to the door. Julia, please. Ben tried one last time. We need to talk. There's nothing to discuss, I replied, pushing them out into the hallway and tossing the remaining bags after them. You're both dead to me. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and sank to the floor, finally allowing the tears to flow. I cried all night until the tears ran dry. My phone constantly buzzed with messages from Ben, begging for forgiveness, but I deleted them without reading. Around 9 in the evening, my mother's name appeared on the screen. I hesitated, but eventually answered. Hello. What the hell is wrong with you? My mother's voice was piercing with anger. I held the phone away from my ear. Excuse me? How dare you throw your sister out onto the street? She called me in tears, Julia. She has nowhere to go. I couldn't believe my ears. Mom, do you even know what happened? Beth slept with Ben. I found them in my bed. So what? These things happen. You had no right to throw her out of the apartment. She's your sister, for God's sake. She's in love with him, Julia. You should be happy for her. I froze in shock. Happy? My voice faltered. Are you serious right now? Listen to me. You have a good job. You can find another apartment. Why don't you just give the apartment to Beth and Ben? They need it more than you do. This suggestion was so absurd that I wondered if I was hallucinating. Let me get this straight. You want me to give my apartment to my sister and the guy she stole from me? Are you out of your mind? Don't speak to me in that tone. You've always been selfish, Julia. You've always been jealous of your sister. Just grow up and do the right thing, like Beth or how you are now, snapped my mother. No, you didn't raise me to be selfish. You raised Beth to think she can take whatever she wants, and me to let her do it. I'm done, Mom. I hung up without waiting for her to add anything and immediately blocked her number. Then I blocked Beth and Ben. My whole life, I had been the responsible one, the understanding one, the one who sacrificed herself, but not anymore. In the following days, I learned from my cousin Emily that Beth and Ben moved in with our parents. It turned out they became the new golden couple, with my mother gushing over them at family dinners. Beth tells everyone that Ben is the love of her life, Emily shared over coffee. She's posting sappy photos on social media with captions like, "When you finally find your other half." It's disgusting. I don't care, I said, although that wasn't entirely true. It caused me unbearable pain, but I immersed myself in work. My boss noticed my newfound determination. Whatever is fueling this surge of productivity, I like it, she said one day. The campaign for the important client was brilliant, Julia. I'm recommending you for the department head position. The promotion came with a significant salary increase and my own office. I decided to celebrate it with friends at a nice restaurant downtown. My friend Mike, whom I met in college, insisted on treating everyone to drinks. To Julia, the advertising genius and real smart cookie, he proclaimed, raising his glass. After several toasts, our party dwindled down to just Mike and me. We've known each other since college, and Mike was my best male friend. After that evening at the restaurant, Mike started dropping by more often, sometimes with a cake after work, sometimes with movie tickets. No pressure, just the attention I had been missing. In the evenings, we talked for hours about everything. I suddenly remembered how back in college, when all the guys were smitten with long-legged beauties, Mike always picked me as his partner for projects and labs. One day, he suggested a weekend trip to the countryside. We sat by the campfire, with the starry sky above us. "You know," Mike said then, staring at the flames, "I've always been a little bit in love with you." I looked at him, at the man who had always been there, even when I hadn't noticed, and something clicked inside me. 3 months after my breakup with Ben, Mike took me to the same restaurant where we had celebrated my promotion. After dinner, he suddenly dropped to one knee. "Julia," he said, his voice trembling, "will you marry me?" In his hand was a simple velvet box with a ring. No pomp, no unnecessary words, just the most important thing, and I said, "Yes." After our engagement, my mother called me, despite her number being blocked. Apparently, she called from a different phone. I rolled my eyes, though she couldn't see it. "You know what I mean." Your mother's voice became less frequent. "You should have invited us. We're your blood, Julia, and Beth is your sister." "Beth!" I couldn't suppress a bitter laugh. "Really? After everything she did, you want me to invite her to my engagement?" "She apologized, Julia. She regrets what happened. You should forgive her. Family is all we have." I took a deep breath, feeling anger boiling inside me. "No, Mom. Family is not just blood. It's people who love you, respect you, and don't betray you. Beth and Ben betrayed me, and you betrayed me when you supported them. So no, I don't have to forgive, and I don't need to invite you into my life." My mother fell silent for a moment, then her tone turned icy. "You'll regret this, Julia. Someday you'll realize that family is all that matters. And when that Mike of yours leaves you, like Ben did, you'll be alone, and then you'll see that we were right." "Thanks for the support, Mom," I said sarcastically. "But I don't need your predictions. I have people who truly love me, and if Mike ever leaves me, I will cope, because I am stronger than you think." I hung up the phone without waiting for a reply. My throat felt dry, but inside I felt an odd relief. I was no longer that girl seeking approval from her mother. I was a strong, independent woman who knew what she deserved. Mike heard my conversation, gently approached me, and silently sat down beside me. "Are you okay?" he asked. His voice was soft and caring. I nodded, leaning against him. "Yes, just another fruitless conversation with my mom. You know that I'm always on your side, right?" He looked at me warmly, sending shivers down my body. "I know." I smiled. "And that's all I need." A few weeks later, I received a note from Beth. It was handwritten, which was unusual in itself. Beth had never been a fan of old-fashioned communication. I hesitated, but eventually opened the envelope. "Julia, I know you probably don't want to read this, but I have to try. I know I hurt you, and I am sorry. I was selfish and foolish. Ben and I were a mistake. We broke up. He wasn't who I imagined him to be. I understand you may never forgive me, but I want you to know I regret it. I miss you. You have always been stronger than me, and I was always jealous of you, but now I understand you were right about everything. Beth. I read the note several times, feeling emotions welling up inside me. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, sadness, relief. I placed the note on the table and stared at it for a long time. Mike noticed my contemplation and gently asked, "Are you all right?" "Beth wrote to me," I said, handing him the note. "She apologizes." Mike read the note and anxiously asked, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Right now I just want to focus on us, on our future." Mike smiled and hugged me. "I'll always be here to support you, no matter what you decide." I felt the tension leaving my body. I knew that the path to reconciliation would be long, but with Mike by my side, I felt that I could handle anything. And maybe one day I'll be able to forgive Beth, but not today. Today, I just wanted to be happy. About a month passed after I received Beth's note. I never responded to it. I wasn't ready, and the wedding required so much attention. But one evening, my father called and asked me to come to their home. There was something strange, tense in his voice. "Julia, we need to talk. It's important. Please." I hesitated for a long time, but eventually agreed, saying I would visit them tomorrow after work, but only briefly. Mike offered to come with me, but I declined. I wanted to sort it out myself. When I arrived at the family home the next day, the first thing I saw was a tearful Beth on the couch. She looked gaunt and somehow lost. My parents sat beside her, their faces tense. "What's happening?" I asked, stopping in the doorway to the living room. Mom took Beth's hand, and after pausing, she said, "Beth is pregnant." I froze in place, stunned by the news. "He left her when he found out," added Dad quietly, "just vanished, as if he was never there." I looked at Dad, then at Mom, and finally at Beth, who was still sitting with her face buried in a tissue. I felt anger and disappointment boiling inside me, but at the same time, I was overwhelmed by a strange sense of emptiness. "And what do you expect me to do?" I asked, my voice sounding cold and detached. Mother looked away, as if it was obvious. "You can help her, Julia. You have a good job. You are successful. You can support her until she stands on her own feet. Maybe even let her live with you until she finds her place." Live with me? It didn't make sense in my head. "Are you serious? After everything that happened?" "Julia, she's your sister," Dad interjected. "And now she's going to be a mother. You can't just leave her in trouble." I felt my patience reaching its limit. "Do you know what the funniest thing about all of this is?" I said, my voice trembling with anger. "You never offered me help when I was in a tough situation. Never. But when Beth is in trouble, you immediately call me and expect me to drop everything and save her. Why? Because she can't handle it on her own? Because she has always been your favorite?" Mom tried to protest, but I interrupted her. "No, Mom, let me finish. I won't help Beth. She made her choice, and now she has to deal with the consequences. I am not obligated to save her every time she gets into trouble. And if you think this makes me a bad sister or daughter, that's your problem, not mine." Beth finally raised her head, her eyes full of tears. "Julia, please," she whispered. "I know I've done terrible things, but I don't know what to do. I have no money, no job. I can't raise a child alone." I looked at her and felt something warm in my chest, but then I remembered everything I had to go through, all the betrayals and pain. "You've always found a way out, Beth," I said calmly, "and you will find it now, but I won't be part of it." Mom tried to speak again, but I raised my hand to stop her. "I'm leaving, and please, don't call me with such requests again. I won't change my decision." I turned and left the house without looking back. When I got into the car, my heart was pounding, but inside, there was a long-awaited calm. I realized I wouldn't let them drag me back anymore. Enough. I was no longer that girl who bends under others' expectations. I had become a strong, independent woman and knew exactly what I deserved. On the way home, I called Mike. "How did it go?" he asked, and there was concern in his voice. I pressed my lips together, then smiled. "I'll tell you at home, but you know what? I'm okay. And now, for sure." That was the pure truth. I was moving forward in my life, and nothing could stop me now. Today, I chose myself, and that was enough. When I drove up to our house, Mike was already waiting, sitting on the porch. I told him everything that happened at my parents' house, and he simply embraced me, not demanding more from me than I could give. "You did the right thing, Julia," he said confidently. "You won't let them use you anymore." Some time passed, and life continued to move forward. I let go of the situation with Beth, deciding it was their life and their choices. I focused on my career, building a future with someone who truly appreciates and supports me. The wedding was unforgettable. Instead of focusing on the negative, I surrounded myself with those who were dear to me. Throughout the day, my friends and Mike's family were there, helping to create an atmosphere filled with love and happiness that permeated every moment. On the day I walked to Mike at the altar, I saw only his eyes, full of love and certainty. Our vows were simple but meaningful, and when it came time to exchange rings, I felt the world around us dissolve, leaving just the two of us. The first months of marriage were full of new discoveries and blessings. We joyfully built our plans together, rediscovered each other, and moved forward side by side. Each day together served as a reminder of how far I had come from the place where my story began. A couple months later, on a warm autumn evening, we sat on the terrace of our home, watching the falling leaves, and Mike unexpectedly asked, "Do you ever think about reconciling with Beth?" I thought for a moment before answering, maybe someday, but not now. Right now, I want to focus on our now, on our journey together. Mike nodded, understanding me without words. He was my support, my partner, my home. With each passing week, I felt myself releasing old resentments, allowing the past to remain in the past, but always holding it as a lesson, a reminder of how much I had grown. And despite everything, I was learning to forgive and let go, not for them, but for myself. Perhaps one day, the door I had shut will open again, but for now, I was at peace with what I had chosen for myself. I was where I wanted to be, with someone who shared all the burdens and joys with me, and that was all that mattered. That evening, sitting under the stars, I clearly understood. This story had led me to a new beginning. I chose myself, and it was a triumph. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.